All right, so in this video, we're going to be going over how to make sure I'm not working on the weekends. I don't really like working on the weekends. It's work-life balance, kind of important. And one problem with this clicker app that we've been developing is that, you see these days right here, these are our weekends. Or I'm sorry, that's not a weekend, but this is a weekend. I don't really want to be working on the weekends. And look, I even worked on the weekends right here, which, I don't really particularly care for that. And so this app, I would like to first off show that if I don't work on the weekends, it's not a big deal. I can do that with some conditional formatting on this row. And so we'll talk about conditional formatting. And I'd also like to just disable these buttons altogether on the weekend so that I'm not tempted even to try to work on the weekends or to feel good about working on the weekends. I don't want to be hitting those buttons. So the first thing we'll do is go over conditional formatting. And conditional formatting, as a reminder, is when you can make a row or a cell look a certain way based on the data that is within it. So here, I'm going to go ahead and conditionally format this table by going to Options, Conditional Format. We've got quite a few different formats here for a number of items. I'm actually going to just get rid of a few of these because they are old already. You can see they've got old in them. And I'm going to collapse them so I can see a little bit better here. I'll delete these because I really don't need them anymore. I'm going to add another row here based on the date. The only problem is these numbers don't, or these don't really help me. They've got these formulas here, but they don't really help. What I really want is something that tells me, is this day a weekend or not? And the nice thing about weekends is they happen on a very consistent schedule, about once every 7 days, right? So what I'm going to do is actually create a formula. And I'm going to try to think of a formula that matches a weekend. So what I want to find out is whether the day that I'm looking at, the day in question, is 7 days away from any weekend. So what I can do is take the number of days between the day in question and some weekend that I know is a weekend day, and see the difference between those 2 days and see if that difference is divisible by 7. So let's see if we can do that. Let's find a date. Let's see. So that's the row, but I want to create a date. So I'm going to convert a date into a text value. And the date, let's see, what day is a weekend? 3/25/23. So I'm going to say, just to make it clear, 2023/03/25. March 25th was indeed a weekend. And I'm going to just subtract these. It's very difficult for me to read this right now because it just says 5 of 5 rows. So in order for me to kind of troubleshoot this, and this is very difficult to read, I'm just going to make a temporary column here, and I'm going to grab this formula and copy it in here. I'm going to say add formula, and there. So I've got a duration now, 2023/03/25 minus 3/27. So we know that from today until March 25th was 2 days, which makes sense. Let's go back a little further so this is a little easier to illustrate. Let's call this the 18th. So it's been 9 days. I want this to be actually a number. Will that just give me a number? Will that just give me the number 9? Doesn't want to give me the number 9. So this duration, today's, let's see what that does. that doesn't like that, is a time duration, which cannot be chained into a formula. Okay, so that's not what I want. Okay, so the way that this formula works is I'm going to write 2 days, and then within the parentheses here, I'm going to convert it. So now I've got a pure number, which is exactly what I want. And now I want to say, I want to mod that. I wonder if mod even exists here. Mod 7. That's perfect. So mod is, instead of using a slash, you use this thing called a percentage indicator or a mod. And what this does is it divides this number by this number, and it gives you the remainder. So we'll see that if I hit enter, this mod results in the number 2. That means the remainder of dividing that duration by 7 is 2. Here it's 1, here it's 0, and then it, if we keep going back, it will start over again. Let's say 323. I'm just going to go ahead and fill these in. 322, 321, 320, 319, 318. Perfect. So we see that the date 318 minus, let's go back to this formula here. 318, March 18th minus March 18th, that's 0. Mod 7 is 0. You try to divide by 7, you get a remainder, and that remainder is 0. Again, we take a look here. 319, which is the date on this row, minus 318. That's 1 day in between the 19th and the 18th. You try to divide by 7, and you get the remainder. The remainder is 1. Let's come over here. We'll take a look at this formula just to review. Date here is the 26th. That's 26 minus 18. So 26 minus 18, that's 8 days. And then you divide that by 7, and you get the remainder. The remainder left over after dividing 8 by 7 is the number 1. And that pattern is going to continue over and over, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, into perpetuity. So what I can do with this column now is say, is this less than 1? Because anything less than or equal to 1 is going to be a weekend. So these are the weekends, 326, 325. These are not the weekends. I'm also going to turn this into a checkbox so that it's very clear which ones are weekends and which ones are not. And I'll even rename the column is weekend. So this turned into a permanent column instead of a temporary column. The nice thing is that now I don't have to create a formula for my conditional format. I can just do it based on is the weekend, and if it is the weekend, then I am going to gray those days out to make it clear, hey, these days don't count. I don't want to work on those days. I don't want those days to show up at all. So yeah, that's how our conditional formatting works based on what day of the week it is. I know that got a little bit complicated with the math. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. If you are looking for how mod works, that's just MOD, a mod operator. There are plenty of places, it's a percentage sign. There's plenty of places online where you can kind of get an idea. Just Google that, get an idea of how that works. But the important thing here is that I wanted to highlight is this conditional formatting, where you can even, as you can see, decide whether to apply the conditional formatting to all the columns, just the is weekend column, or certain columns that you care about versus not. And yeah, that is how conditional formatting works. And I'm not going to work on the weekends because, who does that? All right, see ya.